So we know that anxiety and depression is quite prevalent in older Australians. The Australian data suggests that 1 in 20 people over the age of 65 will be experiencing a mood disorder or an anxiety disorder. Over the next 50 years, we're going to have about a quarter of the Australian population will be over the age of 65, which means if 1 in 20 of those are experiencing anxiety and depression, that becomes a lot of people. COVID has obviously taken a big impact on this particular age group. And this was actually incredibly timely that we had this particular program available.
So we've been very fortunate to have the involvement of two very well-known Australian actors, Gregory Ross and Nolene Brown, who have very kindly donated their time, and they portray two of the characters that we have. So the internet program is called Aging Wisely Online.
At the moment, I avoid talking to new people, and I'm not sure about joining new groups.
And we had arranged to have them come and film over at Macquarie, and then COVID hit, and so we couldn't have them on campus. So they learnt a lot of technological skills, recording things on their iPhones and sending us through audio footage, and we've managed to edit that all together for the internet program. So this is one of the very first internet programs that has been designed specifically for older adults with anxiety and depression, so it can treat both of those at the same time. So Frank and Deirdre are an amalgamation of a range of cases we've seen over the years, and they both experience symptoms of anxiety and depression.
What are the situations that make me feel anxious, or the situations that I avoid? Well, since my heart attack, I avoid playing golf. I've stopped going places by myself. I always take someone with me.
So it's really helpful that we follow them across the program. So each time we introduce a new skill, we see how Frank and Deirdre practiced using it and how they applied it to their own personal situation before we ask an older adult to then go and apply it to their own situation. So it's really helpful modelling and some really helpful examples about how someone might use these types of skills to manage their symptoms of anxiety and depression.
The idea of this particular health model is that people receive their treatments in a stepped approach. The idea is that the first step of treatment that they would receive is a treatment that is lower in resource intensity. So that means usually lower clinician or less clinician time. And then if someone goes through that particular program, that might be like an internet program or a group therapy program, or they might receive a brief phone calls on the telephone, for example. If they're not better at the end of that step, then they go on to the next step. And the next step would be more resource intensive and more costly. That might then be face-to-face interventions and so forth. So it's a model that theoretically should save time and should save money.
There was a survey from the eSafety Commissioner that found that 90% of people over the age of 50 now have access to at least one internet-enabled device. So certainly as we're seeing this baby boomer cohort come through, and certainly even some of the older adults already in that previous cohort are becoming increasingly technologically proficient and learning how to use that. So we also co-designed this program with the input of older adults themselves, as well as older adult mental health clinicians, in order to make it as user-friendly as possible.
There's also a telephone-supported workbook that they can do instead of the internet if they don't want to do the internet program. And so we've heard some really good outcomes of supporting people during this period because of those resources.